Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He jumped up from his chair so fast that hot coffee spilled all over his uniform. The sounds were coming from every speaker in Luna Station, the big space base that orbited around Earth's moon. "All hands to battle stations, unknown vessel approaching, this is not a drill." The voice belonged to Admiral Karen Walsh, and Jake had never heard her sound scared before. Today, she sounded terrified. Jake ran down the metal hallway with dozens of other soldiers. Their boots made loud clanging sounds on the floor. Everyone was talking at once, asking questions that nobody could answer. Through the big windows, Jake could see Earth hanging in space like a blue and white marble. It looked so peaceful from here. The main control room was full of people running around and shouting orders. Computer screens showed red warning lights everywhere. Jake found his station and put on his headset just as Admiral Walsh's voice came through again. "People, we have a situation. There's a ship out there that's bigger than anything we've ever seen. It's not from Earth, and it's not friendly." Jake looked at his radar screen. The alien ship was huge, at least 10 times bigger than the largest Earth vessel ever built. It looked like a giant metal city floating in space. The ship had stopped, right next to a large asteroid that was about 2 miles wide. "Incoming transmission," called out Lieutenant Beth Clark from her communication station. "It's coming from the alien ship. They want to talk to our leaders." Admiral Walsh nodded. "Put it through to Earth Command. Get President Hamilton on the line right now." While they waited, Jake watched the alien ship through his telescope. It was covered in strange lights and had shapes that hurt his eyes to look at. The metal looked different from anything humans made, smoother but also more dangerous somehow. President Lisa Hamilton appeared on the main screen from the White House Situation Room. She had General Robert Hayes standing next to her, along with other important people Jake didn't recognize. The president looked calm, but Jake could see her hands shaking a little. "Admiral Walsh, what are we dealing with?" the president asked. Before the admiral could answer, all the screens in the room changed. A face appeared that was definitely not human. It had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, skin that looked like gray leather, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English, but the voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Greetings, primitive beings of the 3rd planet. I am Ambassador Zixkara of the Galactic Dominion. Your species has been observed and catalogued. You have been found suitable for integration into our empire as a client species." Jake felt his stomach drop. Client species didn't sound good. The alien continued talking. "Your planet contains resources that the Dominion requires. Your population will be relocated to designated areas where you will work for the benefit of the Empire. Resistance is futile and will result in complete extinction of your species." President Hamilton stepped forward. "We represent the people of Earth. We're willing to discuss peaceful contact between our peoples, but we don't accept ultimatums from anyone." The alien made a sound that might have been laughing, but it sounded more like a machine breaking. "You misunderstand, primitive creature. This is not a negotiation, this is a warning. You have 30 of your solar rotations to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, your planet will be cleansed of all life." 30 days? General Hayes stepped up next to the president. "And if we refuse? Then you join the other 847 species that chose poorly." Jake felt cold inside his spacesuit. 847 other species. That meant these aliens had done this before. Many times. "You want proof of our power?" the alien asked. It turned away from the camera and spoke in a language that sounded like rocks grinding together. "Everyone look outside," Admiral Walsh ordered. "Focus on the asteroid next to their ship." Jake turned his telescope toward the big rock floating near the alien vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a thin beam of red light shot out from the alien ship. It touched the asteroid for maybe 3 seconds. The asteroid simply disappeared. One moment it was there, 2 miles of solid rock, and the next moment there was nothing but empty space and a few tiny pieces of dust floating away. The control room became very quiet. Jake heard someone whisper a prayer. Someone else was crying softly. The alien face appeared on screen again. This demonstration used approximately 0.3% of one weapon system's power output. We have 12,000 such weapons across our fleet. Your entire planet could be destroyed in less than 1 of your hours. President Hamilton stood up straighter. Jake had to admire her courage. We understand your capabilities, but you should understand something about humans. We don't surrender easily. Irrelevant, the alien replied. Every species believes they are special. Every species thinks they can resist. You are no different from the others. You will submit, or you will die. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. All the screens went back to showing Earth data and star maps. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Finally, Admiral Walsh broke the silence. Get me a direct line to every world leader. We need an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council in 1 hour. Jake looked out the window at Earth again. From up here, it still looked peaceful and beautiful. But now he knew that in 30 days, it might be nothing but empty space and floating dust, just like that asteroid. Dr. Alex Carter, the station's science officer, walked up to Admiral Walsh. Ma'am, I've been analyzing their transmission. There's something strange about how they talk to us. What do you mean, Doctor? They seem to know very little about human behavior. They talk to us like we were just another animal species, like they expected us to roll over and give up immediately. Admiral Walsh frowned. Are you saying they underestimate us? I'm saying they don't understand us at all, Dr. Carter replied. That might be our only advantage. Jake hoped the doctor was right, because right now it looked like humanity was going to need every advantage it could get. Colonel Ryan Scott crawled through the dirt with his team of soldiers. They were on the dark side of the moon, where the alien ship couldn't see them easily. 3 days had passed since the ultimatum, and Ryan was leading the most dangerous mission Earth had ever attempted. There, whispered Sergeant Kate Sullivan, pointing to a piece of twisted metal half buried in moon dust. That's debris from their weapon test. The piece was about the size of a car door, but it looked like it was made from materials that didn't exist on Earth. It had a strange blue glow and felt warm, even through their thick gloves. Careful with that thing, Ryan said as his team loaded the debris into their transport vehicle. We don't know what it might do. Back on Earth, every country was working together for the first time in human history. The emergency meeting of world leaders had lasted 18 hours. President Hamilton had convinced everyone that their only chance was to unite completely. In a secret laboratory under the Pentagon, Dr. Amy Foster was studying recordings of the alien ambassador. She was a psychologist who specialized in understanding how different minds worked. What she had found was giving her hope. They're not as smart as they think, she told General Robert Hayes during their morning briefing. Look at this. She pointed to her computer screen showing the alien's face. Every time they talk about previous conquests, they use the same words, the same threats. They're following a script. General Hayes leaned forward. What does that mean? It means they've never had to change their approach. Every other species they conquered must have reacted the same way. They probably surrendered quickly or fought conventional wars and lost. But humans are different? Dr. Foster smiled for the first time in days. Humans are very different. We're stubborn, creative, and we don't follow rules when we're desperate. They have no idea what they're dealing with. In another part of the building, Captain Tony Parker was training civilian volunteers. Tony had fought in 3 wars and knew that normal military tactics wouldn't work against the aliens. So he was teaching people something else entirely. Forget everything you know about fair fighting, he told a group of teachers, shop owners, and retired people. Fair fighting will get you killed. We're going to fight dirty. An old woman named Helen Cruz raised her hand. How dirty? As dirty as it takes to win, Tony replied. We're going to be so annoying, so unpredictable, and so impossible to control that these aliens will wish they had never heard of Earth. Meanwhile, in a computer lab in California, a young hacker named Danny Wright had made an incredible discovery. He had been studying the alien transmission data when he noticed something strange. This is impossible, he muttered, staring at his screens. He called his friend Ben Howard, who was an expert on quantum computers. Ben, you need to see this. The alien communication system uses quantum processing just like our new computers. Ben drove over immediately. When he saw Danny's data, his Eyes went wide. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that human computer viruses might actually work on their systems. They're so advanced that they came full circle and ended up using the same basic principles we just discovered. Within hours, Danny and Ben were working with teams of programmers from around the world. They were creating digital weapons that no alien species had ever seen before, because no other species had developed viruses and malware the way humans had. On Luna Station, Jake Morrison was helping coordinate Earth's response. Admiral Walsh had put him in charge of communications with resistance groups forming all over the planet. Report from Europe, Jake announced during the daily briefing. They've managed to hide 3 million people in underground tunnels and caves. The aliens won't be able to find them easily. What about Asia? Asked Admiral Walsh. Even better. They're not just hiding people. They're setting up manufacturing centers underground. If the aliens take the surface, we'll keep making weapons. Below ground. Dr. Alex Carter walked into the briefing room with exciting news. I've been studying the debris Colonel Scott brought back. I think I understand how their shields work. Everyone turned to look at him. It's not magic, he continued. It's just very advanced physics. But here's the interesting part. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and large projectiles. They're not designed to stop small, fast objects. Like what? Admiral Walsh asked. Like bullets, like arrows, like rocks thrown really hard. Their technology is so advanced that they forgot to protect against primitive weapons. In Texas, former Navy SEAL Nick Adams was training ordinary people to be soldiers. But he wasn't teaching them to march in formation or salute officers. He was teaching them to think like predators. The aliens expect us to fight like civilized armies, he explained to a group of farmers and mechanics. They expect rules, uniforms, and clear battle lines. We're not going to give them any of that. A young farmer named Mike Torres raised his hand. What are we going to give them? Nightmares, Nick replied. We're going to be everywhere and nowhere. We're going to hit them when they don't expect it, where they don't expect it, with weapons they've never seen before. Back in Washington, President Hamilton was meeting with leaders from every major country via secure video link. The President of Russia, the Prime Minister of Britain, the leaders of China, India, Brazil, and dozens of other nations were all working together. The plan is simple, President Hamilton said. We make conquest so expensive and so difficult that they decide Earth isn't worth the trouble. And if that doesn't work, asked the Prime Minister of Japan, then we make them pay such a high price that other species in the galaxy will hear about it. Maybe the next time they try to conquer someone, that species will know that resistance is possible. As the meeting ended, Jake received a priority message from Colonel Scott's team. They had found something important in the alien debris. What is it? Admiral Walsh asked. Jake read the message twice to make sure he understood it correctly. The aliens store data in their hull materials. We've been reading their ships' memory banks. We know how many ships they have, what weapons they carry, and most importantly, what? We know that they've never lost a single battle. Ever. In 847 conquests, they've never even been seriously challenged. Admiral. Walsh was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled grimly. Well, they're about to have a very new experience. Outside, the alien ship still hung in space like a dark promise of death. But down on Earth, 6 billion humans were preparing to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. What happened when you cornered the most stubborn, creative, and dangerous species in the universe? The aliens had given humanity 30 days to surrender. Instead, humanity was using those 30 days to prepare for the most unconventional war in galactic history. The 30 days were over. Jake Morrison watched from Luna Station as the alien fleet began moving toward Earth. There were now 50 alien ships surrounding the planet, each one big enough to destroy a city with one shot. Here they come, Admiral, Walsh said quietly. Everyone in the control room held their breath. The first attack came at exactly noon, Earth time. Red beams of light shot down from the alien ships and hit military bases around the world. In seconds, the Pentagon was gone. So were bases in Russia, China, England, and 12 other countries. But something strange happened next. Instead of panic, the world seemed to go quiet. Phase 1 is complete, President Hamilton announced over the emergency radio network. Operation Chaos begins now. Jake had helped plan Operation Chaos, but seeing it happen was still amazing. Within minutes of the first attack, every major city on Earth seemed to empty out. People didn't run around screaming, they disappeared. "How are they doing that?" asked Lieutenant Beth Clark, watching her monitors. "Subway tunnels," Jake explained. "Sewer systems, underground shopping centers, cave networks. We've been preparing escape routes for 30 days. The aliens just destroyed empty buildings." On his screen, Jake could see alien dropships landing in major cities. Thousands of alien soldiers came out, expecting to find terrified humans. Instead, they found empty streets. Colonel Ryan Scott was leading the first ground mission in New York City. He and his team were hiding in an abandoned subway station, watching alien troops march through Times Square. "Remember," Ryan whispered into his radio. "Don't try to win. Just make them angry and confused." The first alien patrol walked past a hot dog stand. Ryan's team had hidden a surprise inside it. When the aliens got close, the stand exploded. Not a big explosion, just enough to knock down 3 aliens and make the others panic. The aliens started shooting their energy weapons at everything. Store windows, cars, street signs. They were trying to hit an enemy they couldn't see. Meanwhile, in a basement across the city, Danny Wright was sitting at his computer with the biggest smile of his life. "It worked," he told Ben Howard. "The virus is in their communication system." "What's happening?" asked Dr. Amy Foster, who was coordinating the psychological warfare campaign. "Their ships are getting false orders," Danny explained. "Ship number 12 thinks it's supposed to attack ship number 37. Ship number 5 is trying to land in the ocean because our virus told it that's where the humans are hiding." The results were immediate. Jake watched from Luna Station as 2 alien ships started shooting at each other. A third ship flew straight into a mountain in Colorado because its navigation system had been hacked. "They're not used to this," Admiral Walsh observed. "They don't know how to handle disorder." In London, Helen Cruz was leading a group of ordinary people in the most unusual battle in human history. Helen had been a high school teacher before the invasion. Now she was a guerrilla fighter. "Remember what Captain Parker taught us," she told her team. "We're not trying to destroy them, we're trying to drive them crazy." Her group had taken over an abandoned office building. When alien soldiers came to search it, they found something impossible. Every door led to a different floor. Elevators went sideways instead of up and down. Hallways that looked straight actually curved in circles. "How did you do this?" asked Mike Torres, a farmer who had joined Helen's group. "Construction equipment, and a lot of creative thinking," Helen replied. "These aliens are used to logical building designs. Their brains can't handle architecture that doesn't make sense." The alien soldiers were getting lost in a simple office building. Some of them had been wandering the same hallway for 2 hours, trying to find the exit. Meanwhile, in the sky above Earth, Commander Tony Parker was leading the most insane air battle in galactic history. Tony was flying a stolen alien fighter, but he wasn't flying it the way it was designed to be flown. "This is crazy leader to all crazy squadron," he said into his radio. "Remember, we're not supposed to survive this, so let's do things that no sane pilot would ever try." Tony flew his alien fighter straight at an alien battleship, then spun it upside down at the last second and flew between the ship's weapon ports. His maneuver was so unexpected that the alien gunners shot each other trying to hit him. Behind him, former crop duster pilot Frank Miller was flying an alien fighter like it was a crop dusting plane. He kept flying low over cities, making sharp turns that should have been impossible. The alien pilots trying to chase him kept crashing into buildings because they couldn't predict his flight path. "Human pilots are insane," one alien commander reported to his fleet. "They fly like they want to die." "Maybe they do want to die," another alien replied. "Maybe that's what makes them dangerous." Back on the ground, Nick Adams was teaching aliens why humans were the scariest species in the galaxy. Nick had set up what looked like a simple roadblock in Texas. When alien vehicles approached, they saw an easy target. What they found instead was a trap that no logical military mind would ever design. The road was covered with oil to make vehicles slide. Hidden speakers played loud rock music to confuse alien hearing. Mirrors had been set up to reflect sunlight and blind alien sensors. But the worst part was the humans themselves. When the aliens tried to attack, the humans didn't retreat or take cover like civilized soldiers. Instead, they charged straight at alien troops while screaming and laughing. "They're not afraid of dying," one alien soldier reported. "They're actually enjoying this fight." The psychological effect was devastating. These aliens had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced an enemy that seemed happy to die in battle. Dr. Alex Carter was monitoring the battle from his lab. What he saw made him realize something important. "They're breaking," he told Admiral Walsh over the radio. "Not their ships or weapons, their minds. They don't understand what's happening." "What do you mean?" "Every other species they conquered fought logically. Armies against armies. Ships against ships. But we're fighting them with chaos. Pure, beautiful human chaos. Their brains can't process it." As the first day of invasion ended, the aliens had technically won every battle. They controlled every major city. They had destroyed Earth's military bases, but they had also lost 40% of their invasion force to an enemy that fought like no species should. Their communication systems were infected with viruses. Their soldiers were getting lost in buildings designed by insane architects. Their pilots were being outflown by humans who flew like they wanted to crash. Ambassador Zixkara sent an emergency message to the Galactic Dominion High Command. "Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not fighting according to standard conquest protocols. They appear to be completely insane." The response came back quickly. "Insane species are still just species. Complete your mission." But as Zixkara looked down at Earth, watching human resistance fighters dance around his soldiers while setting off fireworks and playing loud music, he began to wonder if the Dominion had ever encountered anything quite like humanity before. On Earth, President Hamilton was smiling for the first time in 30 days. The plan was working perfectly. They weren't winning the war in any traditional sense, but they were teaching the galaxy something new. Sometimes the craziest species is the most dangerous one. 3 weeks had passed since the invasion began. Captain Stephen Bell crouched in the ruins of what used to be downtown Chicago, watching an alien command ship through his binoculars. The ship was huge, sitting in the middle of the city like a metal mountain. "This is suicide," whispered Emma Davis, the pilot who would fly their stolen alien fighter. "Even if we get inside that thing, we'll never get out alive." "That's the point," Stephen replied calmly. "We're not trying to get out. We're trying to get their computer files." Stephen's team was made up of volunteers who knew they probably wouldn't survive the mission. But Dr. Julie Mason had convinced them it was worth it. She needed the alien database to understand how the Dominion really worked. "Remember," Stephen said to his team, "we're not trying to blow up their ship. We're trying to steal their brain." Emma flew their captured alien fighter straight at the command ship, spinning and diving like a drunken bird. The alien defenses couldn't track her crazy flight pattern. At the last second, she crashed the fighter into the ship's docking bay. The crash killed Emma instantly, but it got Stephen's team inside. They fought their way through corridors filled with confused alien soldiers, using weapons that made no sense to logical minds. Private Carol Adams carried a flamethrower that shot silly string instead of fire. It didn't hurt the aliens, but it stuck to their equipment and made their sensors stop working. Sergeant Ben Howard had a device that played children's songs at volumes loud enough to break glass. "Why are they using these ridiculous weapons?" one alien soldier asked another as they tried to clean silly string off their armor. "I don't know," the other replied. "Nothing they do makes sense anymore." Stephen's team reached the command center just as reinforcements arrived. They couldn't win the fight, but they didn't need to. Carol Adams plugged a simple USB drive into the alien computer system, while Ben Howard held off the guards with his musical weapon. "Got it," Carol shouted. Then alien energy beams cut down the entire team. But the USB drive had already copied everything. Thousands of years of Galactic Dominion records, battle plans, and most importantly, their complete history of conquest. Back on Luna Station, Jake Morrison received the data transmission just before Stephen's team died. He immediately sent it. to Dr. Julie Mason and Dr. Lisa Park, who were working together in a secret laboratory. What they found changed everything. "Look at this," Dr. Park said, pointing to her computer screen. "The Dominion has conquered 847 worlds, but they've done it the exact same way every single time." Dr. Mason nodded grimly. "Same ultimatum, same invasion tactics, same occupation procedures. They're like a machine that only knows how to do one thing." "But look at this section," Dr. Park continued. "Every species they conquered either surrendered immediately or fought organized military battles. The longest any resistance lasted was 6 weeks. "How long have we been fighting?" Dr. Mason asked. 3 weeks and 4 days, and we're getting stronger, not weaker." The two scientists spent hours studying the data. What they discovered was both terrifying and hopeful. The Galactic Dominion was incredibly powerful, but they had a weakness they didn't even know about. They can't adapt, Dr. Park realized. They've been so successful for so long that they never learned how to handle unexpected situations. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Marcus Lee was coordinating resistance efforts from a hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains. The reports coming in from around the world were incredible. "Berlin reports complete success," his aide announced. "The aliens have given up trying to control the city. They're just bombing it from orbit now." "What about Tokyo?" "Same thing, and London and Mexico City. The aliens can't figure out how to occupy cities full of people who won't follow any rules." The truth was that humanity's greatest weakness had become its greatest strength. Humans were stubborn, illogical, and refused to accept defeat even when defeat was obvious. These traits had caused problems throughout human history, but against the aliens, they were perfect weapons. In Australia, a group of farmers led by Frank Miller had turned their entire region into a nightmare for alien forces. They had trained kangaroos to carry small bombs. They had taught parrots to repeat fake military orders in alien languages. They had even convinced a pack of dingoes to howl in patterns that jammed alien communications. "This is impossible," the alien regional commander reported. "The native wildlife is fighting us. The humans have somehow recruited their planet's animals as soldiers." "Animals cannot be soldiers," his superior replied. "Tell that to the exploding kangaroos," the commander said bitterly. In space, pilot Emma Davis's sister Rachel Torres had taken over the aerial warfare campaign. Rachel was an aerospace engineer who had learned to fly alien fighters better than the aliens themselves, but she didn't fly them correctly. "Human pilots are a virus in our flight patterns," one alien ace pilot reported after barely surviving a battle with Rachel. "They don't follow any rules. They don't try to protect themselves. They fly like physics doesn't apply to them." Rachel had discovered that human recklessness was actually a tactical advantage. Alien pilots were trained to survive and complete missions efficiently. Human pilots were trained to win at any cost, even if the cost was their own lives. The difference was making alien pilots afraid to engage in air combat. Dr. Amy Foster had been studying alien psychology using intercepted communications. What she found was fascinating. "They're breaking down mentally," she told President Hamilton during a secure video call. "Their soldiers are reporting nightmares. Their pilots are refusing dangerous missions. Their commanders are requesting transfers away from Earth." "Why?" the president asked. "Because we're not behaving like any species they've ever encountered. To them, we look completely insane, and insanity is contagious." The psychological warfare was working better than anyone had hoped. Alien troops were becoming afraid of humans, not because humans were stronger, but because humans were unpredictable. In New York, Helen Cruz had turned her resistance cell into something that would have impressed the most creative generals in human history. Her fighters didn't just attack alien patrols, they tormented them. They would leave gifts for alien soldiers: flowers, candy, children's toys. But the gifts were always slightly wrong. Flowers that were too bright. Candy that tasted like soap. Toys that played music backwards. "It's psychological torture," Helen explained to Mike Torres. "We're making them paranoid. Every gift could be a bomb, but it's usually just something weird. They don't know what to expect from us anymore." The strategy was working. Alien soldiers were becoming nervous wrecks. jumping at shadows and shooting at empty air. As the fourth week of invasion ended, Ambassador Zixkara was facing a crisis unlike any in Dominion history. His forces controlled Earth's cities, but they couldn't control Earth's people. Human resistance was actually growing stronger. "Request permission to use planet-killer weapons," he transmitted to Dominion High Command. "Standard occupation procedures have failed completely." The response was immediate. "Planet-killer weapons authorized. Prepare for total planetary sterilization." But as Zixkara looked down at Earth, he wondered if even destroying the planet would stop these humans. They had turned war itself into a form of art, and their masterpiece was driving the entire galactic dominion insane. On Earth, President Hamilton received intelligence about the planet-killer weapon from their spy networks. She called an emergency meeting with resistance leaders worldwide. "They're going to try to destroy the entire planet," she announced. "Good," replied General Lee. "That means we're winning." Everyone looked at him like he was crazy, which was exactly the point. After fighting humans for a month, the Galactic Dominion was finally learning what it meant to be afraid. The planet-killer weapon looked like a giant metal spider hanging in space above Earth. Jake Morrison watched it through Luna Station's telescopes as it slowly charged up its deadly beam. According to their calculations, it would fire in exactly 6 hours. "This is it," Admiral Walsh announced to everyone in the control room. "Operation Last Dance begins now." Jake had helped plan Operation Last Dance, but he still thought it was the craziest military strategy in human history. Instead of trying to destroy the planet-killer weapon, they were going to capture the entire alien fleet. "All teams, this is Admiral Gary Johnson," came the voice over the radio from Earth Command. "You know what to do. Make it count." Around the world, thousands of human fighters began the final phase of their war. But they weren't attacking with bombs or missiles. They were attacking with pure, concentrated human insanity. In California, Danny Wright and Ben Howard sat in their computer lab surrounded by dozens of monitors. They had spent weeks preparing the ultimate computer virus, one that wouldn't just hack alien systems but would completely rewrite how the aliens thought about war itself. "Uploading now," Danny announced as he pressed the enter key. "This virus is going to teach them what chaos really means." The virus spread through the alien fleet's communication network in seconds, but instead of shutting down their systems, it did something much worse. It made every alien ship think it was the fleet commander. Suddenly, 50 alien ships were all trying to give orders to each other. Ships that had worked together for centuries were arguing about who was in charge. Some ships started flying in circles. Others began attacking their own allies because they thought they were traitors. "It's working," Ben laughed as he watched the alien fleet tear itself apart. "They're so used to following orders that they can't handle everyone being the boss at once." Meanwhile, Rachel Torres was leading the final air battle in a way that would have made every military academy professor cry. She had gathered every human pilot still alive, former crop dusters, stunt pilots, racing drivers, even people who had only flown video game simulators. "Remember," she told them over the radio, "we're not trying to win a normal dogfight, we're trying to break their brains." The human pilots flew stolen alien fighters like they were toys. Frank Miller flew his ship backwards while spinning upside down. Carol Adams flew in figure-8 patterns that made alien pilots dizzy just watching. Ben Howard attached fireworks to his ship and flew through the alien formation like a screaming comet. The alien pilots, trained for thousands of years in proper combat techniques, couldn't handle opponents who flew like they were having fun instead of fighting a war. "Human pilots have lost their minds," one alien squadron leader reported. "They're not trying to survive, they're not trying to complete missions. They're just playing." "Playing?" his commander asked. "Yes, sir. They're playing war like it's a game. And somehow they're winning." On the ground, the final assault was being led by people who should never have been soldiers. Helen Cruz, the former teacher, was commanding a battalion of librarians, shop clerks, and retired grandparents in an attack on the Alien Command Center in New York. But they weren't attacking with guns. They were attacking with art. "Deploy the street musicians," Helen ordered. Dozens of people with guitars, drums, and kazoos surrounded the alien base and began playing the most annoying music in human history. The aliens tried to ignore it, but humans had spent centuries perfecting the art of making noise that got stuck in your head. Soon, alien soldiers were covering their ears and begging for mercy. "Now, release the mimes," Helen commanded. A group of street performers in white makeup began acting out invisible walls around confused alien troops. The aliens, who had never encountered the concept of pretend barriers, kept walking into the fake walls because they couldn't understand what was happening. Meanwhile, Mike Torres was leading the strangest cavalry charge in galactic history. He had gathered every farmer in Texas who owned a horse, and they were riding straight at an alien armored division. But instead of weapons, they carried lassos and rodeo gear. "Yeehaw!" Mike shouted as he roped an alien battle tank like it was a runaway cow. The tank's sophisticated AI couldn't figure out why it was being pulled around by a piece of rope tied to a horse. Other cowboys were using alien energy weapons like branding irons, marking captured aliens with embarrassing symbols. The psychological effect was devastating. These proud galactic conquerors were being humiliated by primitive Earth cowboys. In space, the planet killer weapon was almost ready to fire. But Admiral Gary Johnson had one final surprise prepared. Launch. "Operation Trojan Horse," he ordered. What looked like a desperate escape attempt was actually the most elaborate trap in human history. Hundreds of small ships launched from Earth, appearing to flee the planet killer beam. The aliens, thinking humans were finally showing fear, moved their entire fleet to intercept the escaping ships. But the ships weren't trying to escape. They were carrying the most dangerous cargo in the universe: human children with art supplies. When the alien ships captured the fleeing humans, they found their ships being redecorated by 8-year-olds with crayons and finger paint. The children drew on everything: walls, control panels, alien uniforms. They asked endless questions and wanted to play games. "Why do you have so many eyes?" One little girl asked Ambassador Zixkara. "Can you see everything at once? That must be confusing. Do you want to color with me?" Within an hour, the most feared military force in the galaxy was being managed by human children who treated the invasion like the world's biggest playdate. The final blow came when Dr. Julie Mason activated her master plan. Using the stolen alien database, she had learned something incredible. The Galactic Dominion's entire military was controlled by one central computer. "Uploading humanity," she announced as she connected Earth's internet to the alien command network. Suddenly, the alien fleet's computers were flooded with every piece of human culture ever created: cat videos, cooking shows, arguments about sports, memes, social media posts. 5,000 years of human creativity, stubbornness, and beautiful chaos. The alien central computer, designed to process logical military data, tried to understand why humans took pictures of their food. It tried to analyze the strategic value of videos of people falling down. It attempted to categorize every argument humans had ever had about which movie was better. The computer had a nervous breakdown. All across the alien fleet, systems began shutting down as artificial intelligences committed the equivalent of suicide, rather than try to understand humanity any longer. Ambassador Zixkara found himself sitting on his command bridge, covered in crayon drawings, listening to children sing nursery rhymes while his entire fleet forgot how to function. "Retreat," he whispered into his communicator. "Full retreat. Mark this planet as forbidden. Never return." The planet killer weapon powered down without firing. The alien fleet began leaving Earth's orbit as fast as their damaged ships could fly. President Hamilton stood in the White House Rose Garden, watching the alien ships disappear into the darkness of space. Around the world, humans were celebrating. In the streets, playing music, dancing, and doing all the wonderfully chaotic things that made them human. "Madam President," General Lee asked, "what do we do now?" President Hamilton smiled as she watched fireworks exploding in the sky, not weapons of war but celebrations of victory. "Now," she said, "we get ready to show the rest of the galaxy what humanity can do when we're not fighting for our lives." In the depths of space, Ambassador Zixkara was composing his final report to the Galactic Dominion High Command. It was the first retreat in Dominion history, and he needed to explain. Why? Species designation, human. Threat level, apocalyptic. Recommendation, avoid at all costs. They do not fight wars. They turn war into art, and their art is beautiful, terrifying, and completely insane. Any species that encounters humans should immediately offer them friendship, gifts, and anything else they want. Do not make them angry. Do not try to conquer them. Do not even look at them funny. They are the most dangerous thing in the universe, and they think it's all just a game. The message was received by Dominion High Command and immediately classified as the highest possible threat level. Earth was marked on every galactic map with a simple warning, "Here there be humans," and humanity, having accidentally become the most feared species in the galaxy, began planning their next great adventure among the stars.